Hi there. In this video, we're going to talk about variables in Postman, and it's going to be a long video, so I apologize to you in advance. The thing is, we have to cover a lot of topics into that, and I wanted to club everything related to variable into this video. However, I will not be covering the iteration data variables. So this one, data variable in this video, is a separate video that I'm going to create, and there we are going to see that in detail. In this video, we are going to cover the rest four variables, which are global, collection, environment, and data. And I've briefly talked about global, collection, and environment variables already in organized work into Postman video. So we are going to now see those into detail. So now the next thing that we are going to do is there are two ways actually you can define these variables and manipulate these variables. So one way is through the UI of the application, so UI of Postman. The other way is using scripts. So as you know that you can write JavaScripts inside your pre-request and test sections. So through that also you can update these variables. Okay. Now we'll see the syntax of these variables because this is slightly different based on where you are using that. So if you are using these variables inside the pre-request and test sections, it's going to be slightly different. It is going to follow this particular syntax. So it's going to be pm dot type of variable. So for example, in case of collection, it's going to be collection variable. In case of environment, it's going to be environment. In case of global, it is going to be global. And then you can retrieve the variable and you can update the variable. So for retrieving you use get, for updating you're going to use set. And this is the syntax that we are going to use in the body, in the URL section, even in the method, even in the authorization, username and password section, so everywhere. So you can use it a lot of places, but you can't use this particular syntax under these two sections, pre-request and test sections. Okay, so we'll see that into scope into this video. And the last one is variable scopes. Okay, so what is a variable, by the way? So you know that in Postman we use JavaScript to write our code. Right, in JavaScript, how do we define a variable? We use either this syntax, var name is equal to Postman, or let name is equal to Postman. So what is a name? A name here is nothing, it's a symbolic representation of data. What is the data? Data is Postman, right? Name is the symbolic representation of it. So what is the use of variables in Postman? So what happens is, you may supply data from your scripts to your request. All right, how do you do that? You do that with the help of variable. All right, so if you have to exchange or share something between the collections, environments, requests, then you require variables. That's the use of variables in Postman. With the help of these variables, you can enhance your ability to work efficiently and also minimize the likelihood of error. Okay. Now, like I mentioned, there are five type of variables. Global variable, anytime you create a workspace, right? So you can create global variables which are accessible to all the collection within that workspace. And collection nothing is a set of requests, and inside requests you can write your test scripts and also. If you create a variable, global variable that is accessible to your collection, your requests, your test scripts, even to your environment. Okay. So when to use global variables? When you're new to Postman, right, and you just want to quickly check a couple of things, then you have to go for global variables. You have to be very careful when you're using global variables. Okay, then can cause confusion. And this particular slide I've taken from Postman official website. So they themselves are saying that since global variables can create confusion, you should only use them sparingly. For example, to quickly test something or when your project is at very early prototyping stage. Okay, so the next one is your collection variables. So you can also create variable within your collection. All right. So when you create a variable inside a collection, so any requests that are there inside the collection and any test cases, any prerequisite scripts that are there inside your collection, they have access to your collection variable. However, collection variable are not shared across different collections. So variables defined in collection A are not accessible to collection B. Okay. Collection variables are suitable if you are using only a single environment. And we'll check that. What do we mean by environment? So environment variable allow you to tailor your processing to different environment. For example, your local development testing. Okay. The important thing from here is only one environment can be active at a time. So let's understand that slightly more. So for example, you may in your workspace you may have multiple collections. So your one collection is, let's say, for application A. Okay. Your collection 2 is for application B. All right. So in application A, uh, the URL may be different, the login ID and password would be different. Okay. So they'll have, each application will have their specific URL and username and ID. So in that case, what you can do, you can create a specific environment for each of the application. Okay. That's one use case of it. Second use case is for the same exam, for the same application, right? You may need to run your APIs against different environments, which is what is explained here. So you can with the help of environment you can run your request against your QA environment, your development environment, production environment. That's another use case of it. Okay. So you see that we have multiple things in here, and then we go for creating environment variable. But in case of collection variable, as they have mentioned, and here also they have mentioned, if you have only one environment, right, use collection variables. It's going to be more efficient because environment variable has some overhead, so they have to be managed, they have to be role based. If you are using the free version, of course you have control over everything, but when you go for the team version of Postman, then there are certain restrictions on this environment variable, which is a feature, right, which is good also. The thing is, when you problem starts when you use Newman CLI, and not a problem, this how it's implemented. But if you are dependent on any of the environment while running it from the uh, command line, you also have to pass in the environment JSON file or the URL. But if you have everything within your collection, right, even the variables, then you don't need to pass that. Okay. So local variables, as the name suggests, they are temporary. Like, you are into your pre-request script section or in your test section, you use that syntax where name is equal to something, where or let name is equal to something. They are local variable. Data variables are those which come from the external CSV or JSON file. Okay, and we'll see that in our next video on, supplying data to our request from external sources. All right, so environment and environment variables using UI. So I think we've understood what these variables are, at least the definition of these and where to use which one. Now let's move to our Postman and see how we can create all these. Okay, so this is our Postman, and let's do one thing. Let's create a new collection. Let's start fresh. Okay, so I'm going to create a new collection. I'm going to call this variables. Okay, so a new collection is created, and all I want is to let me use this. Just now I can delete this. I would have renamed that. Okay, so here's my request, and right. So let's say I want to post something, and I picked the complicated example, but that's fine. So now what we have to do is we have to pass in these values from somewhere. Okay, and let's first make use of environment variables. Okay, so from where we can create the environment variables. So all you have to do is to go here. Okay, and let's create a new environment, and let's name is post data body. Okay, let's make use of that. So we have created that. Right now let's start adding values. So what was that? It was name, type, speed, and lifespan. Okay, and now let's pass on some values. So name would be uh, anything. Rabbit. Type is will be speed is 35, and lifespan is 80. Okay, click on the update. So what we have done is essentially we have created an environment uh, with the name post data body, and then we have created these variables inside this environment. Okay, so let me update that and let me close this. Okay, and now how you can select environment. So whenever you're going to run this request, you have to make sure that, because now this is dependent on the environment, and currently when you hover over this you see nothing. So you have to select the right environment from here. Let me select this, and let me take these tests out and go to my body, send that. Yeah, so now you see a record is created. Okay, let's also check that in our database. So a new record is created. Okay, so we have seen an example wherein we are passing the data to our request body from the environment variable. Okay, now let's do something different. Now let's say I want to supply the path from collection variable. So this is my path, right? You have seen that. So now let me open my collection, click on that, create a variable, and here say path and pass in the values. Okay, update this. Now I can easily take this out. Now this is the syntax that you have to use, and what do we have to provide? I forgot what is the name we gave to that variable. So we gave it path. Okay, so do this. So this is what I was saying. So when you hover over that, now you could see that this is resolved. Okay, and the scope is collection, as you could see. So initial value is API animals, and then API animals, and then collection. Okay, so this is now resolved to the collection, and we are reading these from where? We are reading these from our environment variable. Now let's make use of the global variable now. Okay, so I'm just trying to use all these different variables within this one request, but I've already told you when to use which variable. Okay, so now global variables. For that, again you have to click on the settings, go to globals, and here what you are going to do is uh, okay, so we have to pick this, right? So we have to pick this one. Okay, so there are some labels already, so let me delete this one. Let me change this. Okay, now you might be seeing these two values, initial value and current value. So what happens is, so you are, whenever you're making a change, and I showed you that things are getting synced to your cloud version, and tomorrow if you may need to share it with your team members, you can do so. So what happens is, whatever value that is there inside this initial value, your team members will be able to see that. whatever you see here staying local to you. No one else can see this. Okay, so make sure that you don't share your secret credentials with your peers. So what you have to do in that case is, let's assume this is our let's create password. So this is the password, right? So what you have to do is your password. Okay, and here you're going to store your password. Let's say test123. So this is how you have to use this. Okay, so let me just delete that and leave that as it is. Click on save, and now what I have to do is, let's see something. So I can change this and I can say URL. Okay, and now if I hover over this, it is telling me that the scope is resolved to global this time. Okay, so we have made use of global, we have made use of environment, and we have made use of collection variable, right? So we are reading this. So here you are not seeing that what you are seeing here when you hover over that. Okay, so this is from environment, this is from your collection, and this is from your global. Okay, so let's do one thing. Let's delete this record and see if things still work. Okay, so let me come here, click on send. So id 77 is generated, and let's come here and see that. So yeah, so we are successfully able to post our request and with the help of APIs, and we have created these APIs from where? From the UI of Postman. Okay, great. All right, so we have seen this, we have seen this, and we have seen this as well. Okay, so next is great. But before we move on, so I'd like to show you one thing, and this is applicable to all the environments, and you can try that out. I'll show it to you on one of the environment, and let's do it for the global. Okay, so what I can do is I can create another variable with the same name. Okay, and now you could see that though it is telling me that it's a duplicate key. However, if I change this value to, let's say, 449 this time, okay, and see what will happen. So I'm going to save this. Okay, so currently it is now resolving to 449. Earlier it was, so now see, go to your globals. The first value is 348 and 349. So what's happening is this value is being updated by this. So make sure that you use your variables carefully and don't use a lot of things into your global, because tomorrow this list will increase, right? So you may have one variable with the name URL defined here, then one at the bottom, and you don't know that somebody has already declared a variable URL. So in that case the values would be updated. Okay, so make sure that you limit the number of variables that you have to use, and you use the location smartly. Okay, so the problem is here. Let's delete that. Okay, so the next thing is our scripts. Okay, so Postman is an Electron app, and then how are we able to write JavaScript inside that? So Postman has Node.js runtime, which allow us to add dynamic behavior to the request with the help of scripts. What we can do, we can pass data between requests, we can build requests that can contain dynamic parameters and a lot more, right? So we can add JavaScript code to execute during two events in the flow. So pre-request section, where if we write script there, right, those are executed before a request is being sent. So what can we do here? uh, we can supply the data from pre-request script to our request, right? So whatever massaging that you need to do onto your request object, you do it here. All right. Then comes the request, and then you receive the response, and on the response you write your test script. So make sure that you use things smartly here. So for example, what I'm trying to say here is, so if you write JavaScript in the pre-request script, which is expecting the response object, right? You will see error because response object is generated only when we get the response back. So response object is available only here, not here. Okay. All right. So this is about the scripts. Now it's time to write some code into the script section related to these variables. Okay. So now what we have done is, how can we access these variables? And I'll try to show you both the things, both the sections. So let's say, and again, this is a new feature introduced today only. So earlier this intelligence was missing from Postman, and this was raised by the community as something really important, and Postman has provided us. So thanks Postman for that. And all you have to do is to now console.log, and you don't even need to remember that. So which one do we want to access first? Let's say you do pm and you come here, collection variables dot get, and I guess the name was path. Okay, so this is how you can retrieve the value from your collection variable. Okay, let's say I want to set a variable now. All right, so now what is the command? So I take this get out, and now there's intelligence, so I don't need to remember anything. Set, and then it tells me, see, I have to pass in two parameters to this function. So first one is a key, and second one is the value. So let me say I pass a variable, and I say the value has to be collection. So now I'm setting that. Let me run this command. A new record is created. I'll clean that up after this video. So let me go to my collection and see. So you see variable and collection. Alright. So this variable is added, and you see that this section is empty. Alright. So when you exchange this collection with your peers, they'll not be able to see this value. Okay, but when they run the script, the problem would be if they no, there would not be any problem because they'll be first writing. You have to arrange your script in such a way that you first creating these variables if you're doing it through the script, and then use them later. All right, so if you follow that syntax, there will not be any problem. All right, so what has happened is, you see this is empty. Okay, let me close that. So that's done, and now what do we have to do? Okay, so let's move to the, or we can write one more here, and we can say again console.log, and the syntax is pretty much the same. pm dot, let's say, globals. I want to do something with global now, and get, I guess I was picking the URL. Okay, and let me just copy paste, and instead of get I'm going to do set, and there'll be two things, and again we do here variable, and we say global. Okay, and we send this. Okay, and let me go to variables, globals, and you could see new variable is added to the global. Great. Now the last one that is left is, and let's do that in here. So what we have done, collection, global. Now let's do the environment. Okay, so I come here, again the same syntax, and I don't know, I'm not showing you the console, right? So it's messed up. Okay, so this time maybe. So yeah, or maybe we don't need to check the console at all. Yeah, I'll be writing the console. We can check that in here, right? Console.log is required to troubleshoot any problems you have within your script or in your request. Okay, so console.log is very important command. Okay, so what we have to do now here is pm.environment.get. Okay, and what was there in our environment? Let me check that. So name, let's pick name. Okay, so where would I show this? So I have to use console.log here. Okay, and then what I have to do, let me set a new variable, pm.environment.set, and again we use the same thing. So variable is the name of the variable, and when we give it a value, this is environment. Okay, so console, let me clear that, open it up. Okay, so now let me send that. So you see rabbit is printed, it's printed by this particular line, and then this should have created a variable, right? So variable and then environment. Okay, so we are able to get a variable, set a variable in environment, global, and collections. Okay, so let's see what else is pending. Yeah, scope, this is an interesting one. So to check the scope, you could see that global has the broadest scope and local has the narrowest scope. Okay, so highest preference is given to the narrowest scope and lowest preference is given to the broadest scope. Okay, let's see that in action quickly. Okay, I'm closing this out. Now what we are going to do is I'm going to create uh, so let me use this one only. So get all, yeah, let me use this only. So let's do one thing. uh, Let me start with, so global has the broadest scope, right? And iteration data has the local data has the narrow scope. But in this video, we are covering what? We are covering global, collection, and environment. So see the order once again: global, then collection, then environment. So environment has the narrow scope and global has the broadest scope. Let's see that in action. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this value with an environment with a variable name as page. So what I do is, let me start with creating. So here's my global. So what I'm saying is page. So page is the name of the variable. The value is 2. Okay, save that, close it. So when you hover over this, so it is currently resolved to global because this is the only place where Postman has found this variable. Okay, now let me do one thing. Let me create the same variable now in the collection and let's see what happens. So I'm creating the variable page, initial value is 2, this is 2. Okay, and let me do one thing, let me change this to 3. Okay, update that. Now let's see. So instead of global, it is now resolved to collection because collection has a narrower scope than global. Now let's do one thing in this environment. Now let's create the same variable. Okay, and now the name is what? Page, and this time I say 1. Okay, and environment has the narrowest scope in collection, global, and environment. So now we should see value 1 in here, cancel, update, close this. And now if I hover over this, it is resolved to our environment. And if I send this request, right, so page number 1, so it's correct. Now how can you do this into scripts? So all you have to do is console.log, and what's the command, pm.variables.get, and if you do this, what is the name, page. So now from the script also we'll see that what value is being picked. We have 1 in the environment, 3 in the collection, and I guess 2 in the globals. Okay, so let me open my console, clear it out, send this, and 1. So even from the script it is resolving to the narrowest scope. That's the scope. Okay, so we are going to do, and the concept is pretty much the same. This data variable is accessible uh, using, let me open the console, uh, Postman, pm dot iteration data, right, and then again it's same. So while reading it from the Excel, and we'll see that in the next video how we are going to do this. So this is how you're going to do that. All right, so you're going to provide the name of the variable, and if you have to use those into your body, so again this is how you're going to use this. Okay, so let's imagine this is our key name, and then again the syntax here would be name. Let's say it's going to be something like this, and we'll see that in the next video. Okay, so when, I mean, we have this, the name, and we have the same name in the iteration data as well, right, it is going to be resolved to iteration data. So that's how we resolve the scope. Okay, last one is exporting Postman variables and importing variables and sharing across spaces. Okay, so now exporting variable. So it is important, when you are uh, you know share, when you're working within a team, and you might need to share your collection. You can export, by the way, your collection as well. So if you are exporting the collection and your collection is dependent upon the environments, then you also have to send the or export the environments as well. Okay, same way you can export your globals as well, and then you can import as well, because if you are exporting, right, so somebody is going to import those into their Postman account, obviously, right? So let's see that. So how can we export that? Click on this button. Let's say I want to export this. All you have to do is click on this. This is going to download the environment, which is going to be a JSON file. Okay, so post data and this. Okay, what you can also do is you can, because currently we are working into the test workspace, right? So now let's do the share, and let's share it with any of the environment, and let's say I share it with training. Okay, and there are two more options, share environment and remove from this workspace. So we are not removing it from the workspace currently, we're only sharing it. Okay, so let me move to the training one, and if I come in here, so I see that post data thing. Okay, now there's an important thing. So if you click on this, right, so you have two options, remove from workspace and delete it. So if you click on remove from workspace, it will be deleted from this workspace, but still would be there into the test workspace. But if you click on the delete, right, this will be deleted from both the workspaces. Let's check that out. So let's move to the test one, come here, and it's gone, right? How can I import that? So I can click on this, and this is the file, open it. Now this is back. Okay, so this is how you're going to import that. What about globals? So again, click on global, download a JSON, right? And then you can share your globals as well. How you can import that? Pretty much the same. This is manage environment, which is applicable for both environments and globals. So click on the import and upload that file. So there's a key in there which helps Postman to figure out whether this is a collection or an environment variable or a global variable. So Postman is smart enough. All you have to do is do the import. And if you even import a collection from here, it would be added as a collection, not as the environment. Okay. So from here also you can do the import. All you have to do is upload file. So this is more clearer because it is not telling you what you are importing. So it's just that you are importing. So based on what's data is there inside that file, it is going to decide whether it's a collection or the environment variable or the global variable. All right. So yeah, sharing workspaces. I've already mentioned you about this note. So I guess this is it. Thank you so much.